Ms. Robinson, do you agree with Ms. Gaines that there's a difference between women and men?
If the question is about trans women,
I'm just asking, is there a difference between women and men?
what I can say here is that the NCAA has rules in place. They've had rules in place for the last decade, and when this competition happened,
I'm going to try again.
the rules were clear.
Do you believe there's a difference between women and men? It's a yes/no question. Do you believe there's a difference?
20 years ago, that would have been considered a completely ridiculous question. But today, it's legit, and you have to ask it, but nobody on the left can seem to answer. You would think that Kelly Robinson from the Human Rights Campaign would have the ability to give a coherent response, but she's just the latest lunatic determined to eliminate all gender from all classifications in the hopes of establishing some weird genderless utopian culture.
Is there a difference between a man and a woman? Yes. Pretty easy question to answer. It's an unequivocal yes. When I look at my wife and I look at me, yes, there's an unequivocal answer in terms of there being a difference between a man and a woman. I've been on this planet for some time, and it hasn't been until the last 12 months or so is that some reason that answer has become clouded. People can't answer that question anymore. Well, rather they can, they just choose not to. There's some kind of game being played, some kind of psyop where they want us to play along with their insanity. And I'm not playing it. A lot of people say, Barry, why are you talking about these things on a sports channel? Because it involves sports. Riley Gaines is a female or was a female competitive swimmer. She had to compete against Leah Thomas, a man, and it caused all kinds of problems. And I, as a father and a grandfather, do not want my young grandchildren, my young granddaughters going up against men, boys, as they begin to play sports. So this is a very passionate, very, very passionate issue with me, is because my little two granddaughters, my sweet little granddaughters, I can't put them on the screen because I don't want any weirdos looking at them. But I don't want my grandkids subject to this stuff, to the point where people can't answer a simple question. Is there a difference between a man and a woman? And then, of course, they can't answer the more difficult question. Can you describe what a woman is? We've gone completely bonkers. If I lose subscribers over this, so be it. We are going into a presidential election, and I think it's incumbent upon all of us to begin taking a stand against this stuff. The whole Bud Light thing, that just put me over the edge. The whole Pride Month being rammed down our throat constantly. Pride Month, Pride Month. Basically, it's become Pride Year. It's nonstop. Enough already. And don't call me a bigot or anything. I live in Boca. I made my bones in Fort Lauderdale in the housing market. I sold to many gay couples. I had gay partners. I had gay investors. I had no problem. If you guys aren't familiar with South Florida, Wilton Manors is basically the hub of the gay lifestyle in South Florida, up here, not down to Miami, but in Broward. That's where the gay lifestyle is prospering. That's the word for it, prospering. And the people I met, the only difference between what they did and I did is what they did when they got home. We talked business, we talked investments, we talked making money, we talked buying houses, selling houses, renovating houses. We talked business. We went out to lunch together. Not once did any of the gay people that I work with, none of them, say, hey, listen, can I talk to your kids? Can we talk to your kids about, stuff? No, it never happened. None of them ever said, you know what, can you bring them by? I'd like to see them and show them my junk. No, that never happened. I think this entire thing is setting the gay movement back 20 years because people who don't know the difference between gay people and these friggin' nuts are blaming it all upon the gay people, which is not the same thing. They've just basically come in and commandeered what used to be the gay month. These were some of the best people, and I don't mean that in any kind of prejudicial statement. I would gladly break bread and go to people's homes. It was not up to me to approve of their lifestyle. As you guys know who watch my videos, yeah, I'm a Christian, but it's not for me to push my beliefs upon them. They're living their lives. But this stuff where you can't tell and they want to blur the lines between man and woman, yeah, I gotta draw a line on that one. I have to draw a line on that one. And then when you're pushing these guys into competitive female sports, I really got to draw a line. So in this video, I'm going to play a couple clips here with Riley Gaines, and when she was talking to the Senate and they were having a hearing, and this crazy whacked out woman who supposedly represents a civil rights committee really steps in it. And Riley makes her pay for it big time. So I got another video which is even more compelling. This is Riley Gaines talking about having to undress in front of a man and having that man undress in front of her. It's sick.
It is that the NCAA and so many people in power seem intent on just erasing your opinion, your views, the whole category of women. I noticed that recently you just posted this to social media about a message that Harvard was sending around, I think, to its swimmers, telling them, don't talk about Leah Thomas, don't share your opinions. If you get contacted by a member of the media, then refer that to the university. Don't say anything, for heaven's sake. Tell us about this. I mean, this has been...
You know, that's when it's got nefarious connotations. If you were above board and you didn't think this was bad, why would you tell people, don't talk to the media? Shh, don't talk to the media. Don't let them know what we're doing. Don't tell your parents. Let's just, we'll help you.
In your experience, over and over and over, you're told as a woman, just shut up, don't say anything. What's that like?
That is continually happening. And if we do speak up, you're immediately labeled as some name. They will call you everything under the sun, whether it's transphobic, homophobic, racist, white supremacist, domestic terrorist. They will throw them all at you in hopes to deter you.
I have even been called a racist. People don't know what you look like on Twitter sometimes. They don't really look at your profile picture. But I'm like, racist? Nah, it's kind of hard. Really kind of hard for me to be a racist. It has nothing to do with it. Phobic? They put phobic on the end of everything. So you're phobic about this, phobic about that, because they try to demoralize you. And when you confront them, that's when they pull back into the shell, because they realize it's not working on you. So when you can call me phobic, I laugh at you. I'm not phobic. You call me a right-wing nut, I laugh at you. Your insults are meaningless. I'm impervious. What I care about is what you're doing to these young women.
Hopes to silence you. Leah Thomas's teammates, they were forced every single week to go to mandatory LGBTQ education meetings to learn about how just by being cisgender, they were oppressing Leah Thomas. They were told that they are not allowed to take a stance because their school has already taken their stance for them. They were told that you will never get a job, you will never get into grad school, you will lose your friends, you will lose your scholarship and playing time if you speak out. They told these girls that if you do speak out, and any harm whatsoever comes towards Thomas's way, whether that's through social media, whether that's physical, mental, emotional harm, then you are solely responsible, and you could be responsible for a potential death, and you don't want...
You understand what they're doing. That is a textbook psyop. I'm trying to program you. I'm trying to do some sort of MK Ultra nut job stuff so that you athletes understand that you're the ones who are the problem, not this guy who's undressing in front of you. You athletes here who don't understand and aren't accepting Leah Thomas being naked in your locker room, you are the problem. So understand that, young ladies.
Want that, do you? Of course not. Who would ever want to be responsible in a potential death? But that is the emotional blackmail that is plaguing this country, especially in universities.
Women.
Emotional blackmail. What a term. I love that she used that term. It happened with Dylan Mulvaney and Bud Light. It's happening in athletics. Emotional blackmail. You have to succumb to this. You have to submit. Don't even ask any questions. If you ask any questions, we're going to come down on you. You're going to lose your scholarship. You're never going to graduate. You're never going to get a job. You're going to be completely ruined in life if you don't swallow and accept what this stuff is that we're throwing at you. And they're doing this under the guise of higher education. They're doing this under the guise of competitive athletics. You understand that? That's why this is important in talking about sports. This is competitive athletics at a high level, a very high level. And they're doing it to these young ladies, which I don't know if you can call them ladies anymore because you're not supposed to do that either. You're supposed to come up with a pronoun. This is absurd. I am not going to stand for it. I am going to do everything I can to talk about this and let everybody know just how wrong and evil this really is. So in this next cut, Kelly Robinson, who is the, head of the Human Rights Coalition or some other organization that's grabbing money for pushing this propaganda, she's questioned by Senator Joseph Kennedy of Louisiana. And you have to listen to this. We're going to stop and go back and forth, but it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And if you haven't seen this, which many of you probably have not, listen to her talk about this sports angle here. Again, I'm going to come back to sports. I'm always going to tie it back to sports. So take a listen here and let me know what you think.
I don't believe that a biological male has a physical advantage in sports over a biological female.
Not as a definitive statement.
I'm older. I haven't been competitive in athletics for quite some time, but I guarantee you, if I lined up against a young woman in order to play football, I would blast her. I would completely annihilate her. What she just said, she knows is a lie.
Give me an example. Well, no, I don't think. How many female members of the NBA do you see?
Well, I can say that, there's been this news article about men that think that they could beat Serena Williams in tennis, right? That they think that they could actually score a point on her. And it's just not the case. She is strong.
So now she's about to be embarrassed hugely. She's so smug in her answer and saying that a man couldn't score a point against Serena Williams. Maybe I couldn't, but what she just said is completely BS. And listen to what happens.
Stronger than
James,
that.
what's your experience been? Male, female?
Both Serena and Venus lost to the 203rd ranked male tennis player, which they're phenoms for women.
She just smacked down what that woman had to say, just completely embarrassed her. Serena and Venus lost to the 203rd ranked tennis player in the world. 203rd, wasn't even close. So now she's going to address things from a personal level and talking about her swimming, her competitive swimming, and that of her husband.
My experience, my husband, he swam at University of Kentucky as well. In terms of accolades and in terms of national ranking, I was a much better swimmer than him. He could kick my butt any day of the week without trying.
He could kick my butt any day of the week without trying. Not even close. Those were her words. A top-level female competitive swimmer can't even compete with her husband, who wasn't even ranked. She had all the accolades. She had all the trophies. She had all the awards, not him. But because of his biological strength, he could wipe the floor with her. Of course he can. Of course he can. It doesn't make any sense. You guys have to detach from this complete psychological operation that they're throwing out at you. Who else could better underscore what Riley Gaines just said than Serena Williams herself? Listen to what she says right here.
Myself and him playing a match. And I'm like, Andy, seriously, are you kidding me? Because for me, tennis and men's tennis and women's tennis are completely almost two separate sports. So I'm like, if I were to play Andy Murray, I would lose 6-0, 6-0 in 5 to 6 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, because no, it's true. It's true. It's a completely, It's a completely different sport. The men are a lot faster, and they serve harder, they hit harder. It's just a different game, and I love to play women's tennis, and I only want to play girls because I don't want to be embarrassed. I would not do the tour. I wouldn't do Billie Jean any justice. So Andy, stop it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let you kill me.
That was just a few years ago. That was a few years ago with one of the greatest athletes, not just tennis players, one of the greatest athletes in the world, went on television with unabashed honesty and said, you know what? I can't compete against a man, and I don't want to compete against a man. I love playing women's sports. I love playing women's sports. I don't want to compete against a man. What has happened were just in a few short years, she couldn't even say that on TV right now. She couldn't go out in public and say, no, I can't compete with a man. Can you imagine if Serena Williams today went out on television and said on an open mic, I like playing women's sports. I can't compete with a man. I don't even want to try. What these people would do? Why can't we just go back to that? Why can't girls be girls? Why can't boys be boys? Why can't female and women's competitive athletes be female women athletes? Why do you have to infuse your insanity into athletics? It makes no sense. It has to stop. I'm hoping that you didn't get offended by this video. And if you did, I can't do anything about that. We have to take a stand. You have to put that line in the sand and say, enough. You're not going to convince me that there are no such thing as men and women. I'm about to celebrate my 30th anniversary to a beautiful, beautiful woman who I love dearly. And I wouldn't change a thing about that. If you want to marry a man, if you want to marry a woman, that's fine. That's up to you. But you can't push your ideology on me. You can't expect me to not believe there's a difference between a man and a woman and that men should be competing against girls. And don't even get me started about all the Pride Month stuff. So let me know what you think, but every once in a while I'm going to have to talk about things that really, really affect me and I'm passionate about. Let me know what you think in the comments.
Ms. Robinson, do you agree with Ms. Gaines that there's a difference between women and men?
If the question is about trans women,
I'm just asking, is there a difference between women and men?
what I can say here is that the NCAA has rules in place. They've had rules in place for the last decade, and when this competition happened,
I'm going to try again.
the rules were clear.
Do you believe there's a difference between women and men? It's a yes-no question. Do you believe there's a difference?